So, what if I told you that your deepest flaws, yeah, the parts of you that you hide away, might actually be the source of your greatest strength? It's a wild idea, right? But it's a paradox that absolutely obsessed two of history's most brilliant minds. Today, we're diving deep into the shadow, a concept shared by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and the psychologist Carl Jung, who both saw it as the ultimate key to understanding ourselves. All right, let's just get real for a second. What is your dark side? You know what I'm talking about. That little flash of rage, that sting of envy, or maybe it's an ambition so big it actually scares you a little. Whatever it is, don't just push it away. For Nietzsche and Jung, that uncomfortable feeling, that's not a problem. That's the starting line. And what's so fascinating is that both of these guys, coming from completely different worlds, landed on the exact same name for this thing, the shadow. But, and this is a big but, that's pretty much where the agreement stops. As you're about to see what they thought the shadow was, and more importantly, what we should do about it, are worlds apart. Okay, so here's our game plan for breaking down this incredible clash of ideas. We're going to look at where they fundamentally disagree, dig into where this darkness even comes from, and then explore their totally different playbooks for how to deal with it. And you're going to want to stick around because at the very end, we'll uncover the one powerful idea they both agreed on. Right, so our first major clash, philosophy versus psychology. Is this shadow thing a problem with the world around us, or is it a problem deep inside our own minds? Seriously, this one question is what creates the huge gap between Nietzsche and Jung. For Nietzsche, the shadow was a full-blown cultural catastrophe. It was this massive, gaping hole left in the universe after he famously declared that God is dead, leaving all of humanity just adrift. But Jung? He wasn't looking up at the sky. He was looking in a mirror. He saw the shadow not as some big cultural problem, but as a built-in, fundamental part of every single one of us. Which, of course, leads us to the next big question. What even is the shadow, really? For Nietzsche, it was this massive, abstract feeling of being lost in the cosmos. For Jung, it was something way more personal and way more alive. Think of Nietzsche's shadow like a lonely wanderer in a desert, desperately looking for a landmark or a North Star that just isn't there anymore. It's the symbol of feeling philosophically homeless. Jung's shadow, on the other hand, isn't lost in some desert. It's living in your basement. It's this very real collection of all the stuff you've pushed down, and it's guarding the door to your most raw, primal self. And this whole hidden world, this basement, is what Jung called the personal unconscious. Just picture a mental junk drawer where you throw every impulse, every desire, every memory that you find embarrassing or shameful. For Jung, the shadow is basically the bouncer standing at the door to that room. So if one shadow is a crisis out in the world, and the other is a crisis deep within us, where do they actually come from? Let's get into their origin stories. And here's another place where they just could not be more different. For Nietzsche, the shadow isn't something you're born with, it's something you earn. It's almost like a prize you get for being brave enough to tear down your old beliefs. Jung completely disagreed. He'd say you don't find the shadow, you're born with it. It's factory installed, an essential part of the human blueprint, there from day one. This spirit of gravity Nietzsche talks about, just think of it as a giant anchor of history and tradition and shoulds that's weighing all of us down. It's what keeps us from becoming the Übermensch, his vision of a higher kind of human who throws off old rules and creates their own meaning. The shadow, in a way, is the chain attached to that anchor. Okay, so we've got this darkness, whether it's cultural or personal. The million-dollar question is, what now? Do we declare war on it, or do we invite it in for a talk? This is where Nietzsche and Jung's paths fork dramatically. Nietzsche's advice is simple. Go on the attack. You don't negotiate with the shadow. You outrun it. You create your own values with so much passion and intensity, what he called the will to power, that the darkness literally has no place to hide. You don't defeat the shadow. You become so bright that you don't cast one. Jung offers the complete opposite advice. For him, running is useless. It's like trying to outrun your own feet. It only makes the shadow stronger. His cure is a three-step journey. First, you just have to acknowledge it's there. Second, you have to be brave enough to turn on the lights and actually look at it. And third, the really hard part, you integrate its power not as an enemy, but as a vital part of who you are. This whole journey has a name, individuation. And let's be clear, it's not about becoming perfect. Not at all. It's about becoming whole. It's this lifelong process of stitching together the light and the dark parts of yourself to become who you truly are, not just the shiny, happy version you show to the world. Now, let's talk about the stakes. Both of these guys were crystal clear that ignoring the shadow is a massive mistake, but the dangers they saw coming were, once again, completely different. For Nietzsche, the ultimate danger was nihilism. It's a kind of spiritual death. It's that great weariness he talked about, where life just loses all its color and value. For Jung, the danger was psychological, but man, just as destructive. If you ignore your own shadow, you start to project it. You start seeing all your own hidden flaws in everyone else. You become totally blind to yourself and suddenly see monsters everywhere. So, nihilism is basically that philosophical black hole. It's that cold, creeping feeling that maybe none of this has any meaning or purpose. For Nietzsche, this wasn't just a bad mood. It was the ultimate disease of the modern world, and the shadow was its primary symptom. So after all these intense disagreements, philosophy versus psychology, run versus embrace, we finally get to this incredibly powerful and kind of surprising point where these two giants actually meet. And this is it. This is their moment of unity. Despite all their differences, both Nietzsche and Jung were absolutely convinced that the path to true greatness leads directly through the darkness. Confronting the shadow isn't an optional side quest in life, it is the main quest. Think about it. For Nietzsche, you can't reach that great noontide of the Übermensch without first walking through the wasteland of your own despair. For Jung, you can't become a whole, individuated self without first sitting down and shaking hands with your own shadow. In both of their worlds, the path to the summit of the mountain leads directly through the darkest valley. Jung had this perfect quote for it from Old Alchemy. There is no gold without dross. Dross is the scum, the junk, the impurities that you have to burn away to get to the pure gold. And his point is so profound. You cannot find the gold within yourself without first digging through all the messy, seemingly worthless parts of your psyche. And that right there is the incredible message they share. Whether you see the shadow as a flaw in the world or a feature of your mind, the answer is never to look away. The only path to becoming more than you currently are requires the courage to go down, to explore the darkness, because that is exactly where you're going to find the light. So we'll leave you with this to think about. Is your greatest challenge right now a Nietzschean one? A struggle against a world that feels meaningless? Or is it a Jungian one? A battle with the unexamined darkness inside yourself? The answer just might define your entire path forward.